There were revelations yesterday as to the level of manipulation that goes into examinations as revealed by JAMB, by the committee that was set up to find out subversions or maybe infractions. That would be the most appropriate word. So someone who understands technology and the back end is joining us right now. Mr. Chuks Okpaka is a technology expert and consultant. He was the former Microsoft Azure business leader for West Africa and former regional managing director of HP Enterprise West Africa. Mr. Okpaka, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
When I was listening to Mr. Epele yesterday, it was mind-boggling. But you are the tech, you understand. I understand there's something called finger blending, AI-assisted impersonation, through image morphing, all sort of things that, the lay people like us may not really understand in clear detail. But the whole idea is to the effect that this is the extent that people go to manipulate the system, sometimes even aided by parents, to pass JAMB. So walk us through what we're dealing with here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. First, let me lay a little foundation on why I believe the registrar drafted me to join the team. Thank you to him for the work he's doing and to the entire team that worked with me. I was part of the team that reviewed existing registration policies, the guideline they are following today, and that was part of our terms of reference to review what is happening today and to benchmark it against standards all over the world, and then be able to recommend solutions, ways forward for JAMB so that they can stop all the abuse going forward. So we took time, reviewed existing policies, and I believe what we found out was actually, just like you hinted, mind-boggling. A lot of things were involved. First and foremost, the registration policy clearly states that things such as, let's say, multi-factor authentication, meaning that when a candidate comes, they need to log into their portal, they provide their password first and foremost, and probably their fingerprint to authenticate who they are. Now, by finger blending, we realized that JAMB, in their own benevolence, decided to capture the entire 10 fingers, okay? So when the candidate goes to the registration center, you're supposed to capture the entire 10 fingers. But what we have noticed is that for majority of the cases, finger A is for another person, finger B for another person. The entire 10 fingers may be completely 10 different persons. So this is what we mean by finger blending, is that, of course, one will be asking, how is this able to how is the system able to accept this type of thing? Think about it. The system is not actually like looking at you and knowing that, okay, bring your second finger. The second finger you provided is not the same as the same person. So it's only capturing the fingerprints for the fingers presented to it. So it captures those 10 fingers and assumes that those 10 fingers are for one individual. But that is not the case. And the thing, when Jake was talking yesterday, he made mention of the fact that this is a very systemic and multi-layer faceted fraud going on. A candidate by himself will not be able to just go and put the entire finger, because he goes to a research center. So if another person will come and put their finger instead of the candidate's finger, it means the research center is complicit, okay? Just to tell you how monumental it is that the candidate by themselves, they're unable to do it except with absolute connivance of the research centers or even the civic centers where they go and do the registration. So that is actually about the finger blending. On images also, you see a part of someone's image, you realize that maybe 50% of the image for another person and another 50% is for another person. This is what we call image morphing. So this happened in a lot of the cases we also reviewed. So from a technology, just I hinted earlier that we try to benchmark what JAMB has put in place against other leading nations. Of course, in Africa, given the scale of Nigeria and the scale of what JAMB has put in place, there is no rival examination center in Africa that we can actually benchmark against. So we went into UK, we looked at UCAS, we went into the USA, we reviewed the college board, we also reviewed Cambridge International and looked and compared what they are doing versus what JAMB has put in place. our finding was actually, very, very impressive in that from a technology point of view, JAMB seems to be ahead of all of them. Of course, there were findings around, okay, how friendly is it? It's not about friendliness we are talking about now. It's not about how beautiful it is, but being able to deliver on the solution, being able to deliver what the customer wanted to do. I think that is really where we believe that JAMB has put in place an incredible technology, whether biometric capturing, those multi-factor authentication I talked about earlier, but because there is always that human element, it needs to interface with CBT centers, registration centers, where people are. JAMB have put in place these solutions, but by themselves, they need to accredit centers. They need to work with people who will now reach to the masses. They don't have that infrastructure. So my take, the way we have analyzed it, is that technology by itself is good. But when you now have to depend on registration centers, have to depend on CBT centers, have to depend on schools, that's where the issues begin to emanate.
Yes.
That's where we see.
All right, so let's
now starting. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just looking at the broader infractions here. 4,251 finger blending cases, 190 AI-assisted impersonation cases, 1,878 false disability claims, forged credentials, multiple NIN registrations, and all of that. I know that there are also recommendations. When we listen to Dr. Ekpele, yes, there are recommendations. Perhaps you can walk us through what the ways forward would be. Plus, these were done perhaps in privately owned CBT centers. So what sanctions are we looking at here, not just for the students now, or for the pupil whose results would perhaps be cancelled? How about those CBT centers, perhaps fraudulent CBT centers, I should say? What's the sanction for them?
Absolutely. You're just spot on. I think when we recommend, there are 4 different frames or approaches we provide our recommendation. One of them is on the area of policies and processes. Of course, even though I say that they have put in place an absolute and fabulous technology in place to drive the examination that they conduct today, there are still areas we have seen that they can improve upon. So from a policy point of view, from a processes point of view, we have made those recommendations on areas where we want them to put in place some enhancements. The other one is in the area of security. Of course, the biometrics, fantastic solution they have put in place. Today, they depend on NIMC for NIN, okay, which we should actually assume should be the ultimate in terms of authenticating who an individual is. But that is not the case, because they have seen situations where an individual now have 2 NIN numbers, okay? This is really very, very troubling for a country like ours. So from a security point of view, despite what they have put in place, we have also made some recommendations. Maybe need to go towards iris capturing, need to go into palm reading to be able to capture individuals as they are. But I think for every one of those recommendations also comes with its financial burden. The third one also is the legal framework. Okay, I think when you talked about the CBT centers and those schools, what is being done about them, I think is people knowing that if they commit a crime, they can actually go down for it. They will be in prison for it, okay? So this is where we are asking JAMB that it's imperative that the legal framework be strengthened so that people will know, the centers will know, the professional exam takers will know, parents will know that if they commit exam infraction or aid or abet infraction or aid infraction, that they are going to go down for it. The last part also we recommended is about stakeholder awareness. I believe with all the text they put in place and all that is going on today, and also to give it to JAMB, there are people that are behind bars today for examination infractions, but we are not talking much. They are not talking so much about. They are not making so much noise about them. So my take is that, or our take is that, the more they engage stakeholders, the media, the school associations, let's say private school owners, public school organizations, the more they engage these different stakeholders and tell them what they are doing, okay, the more people will be deterred from doing or going ahead, the more parents, the more CBT centers. And the other part also, we realize that, for instance, they have not been seizing equipment. If, for instance, in a CBT center where they have 250 systems, they discover flaw in that system, and they confiscate those 250 systems, this will be a huge loss to whoever owns that center. I think what we observed was that when the CB center is proscribed for this year, the person goes, uses another name, registers, and then comes back into the system, okay, maybe in another address. The same MAC address for those
I think your point
shows up
is
again.
quite well articulated. I know that you have a lot you can, because you're the techie, you're the one that looks at the back end. Whereas it's just to look at the front end and analyze data. But it's very disturbing. In fact, when I saw the numbers, I'm interested in how public policy affects governance and the governed, and interested in electoral matters as well. So I was thinking, if this is happening at JAMB, all of us who are advocating for electronic voting, is this what we have to prepare for? Because politicians will go to any length to subvert the system or undermine the system. So these are the things we need to prepare for. Okay, Mr. Chuks Okpaka, technology expert consultant, former Microsoft Azure business lead, and former managing director of HP Enterprise West Africa. Well, thank you for your comment on the program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.